The Environment Agency has issued a severe flood warning for the whole of the Devon and Cornwall coast. Large parts of England and Wales are braced for storms, with the Met Office forecasting winds of up to 80 miles an hour in some areas. Coastal communities across Wales, the southwest and the northwest are expected to be worst hit. The strong winds will combine with high tides, raising seawater levels and making flooding likely. Well, Daniel Corbett is here from our weather centre. You might have seen him before. You weren't being all that alarmist before. Is there something you're not telling us?
It's going to be a nasty storm, and it's coming at the wrong time. It's literally right at the Monday morning commute where we get some very strong winds, strong to severe gales. It's quite a deep low, particularly deep for this time of year. It's going to have winds gusts to 60, 70, maybe 80 miles an hour, not just maybe an exposed coast, but perhaps even some inland spots over, not just not with the last few storms we've seen have been northern Britain. This particular one will be southern Britain right at that time for that morning commute.
There were two big storms in 87 and 88. How's this going to compare?
This one is quite strong, because where we are right now, we're sort of getting into the late part of the winter, almost into spring, as we sort of call it in the Met Office, and we've had some strong ones so far this winter with some very strong winds, but those strong winds have been more likely northern Britain. This one is going to take the brunt across southern Britain, and the centre of the low is very, very deep, particularly for this time of year, and probably a deeper one for the winter, so it could be quite nasty with the winds, and also some heavy rain and some snow, so a bit of everything as it comes in.
Because you have the technology now to actually see the thing, don't you?
Oh yeah, we look at it on the satellite and it just looks like a big massive a monster out in the Atlantic, and it's just deepening and it's almost literally exploding as the low just works its way in, and as the low becomes sort of deeper and the pressure drops, that's how it just gets its stronger winds, and just sort of like almost like a spinning top. You just sort of take it and go boom, and then it just keeps going and going, and just the winds get stronger and stronger, and it's also coinciding with spring tides, so there is a problem with coastal flooding, particularly over southwest parts of Britain.
When we talk of 80 or 60 miles an hour, at what point does structural damage happen? The tiles whiz off your roof?
I think it's going to depend, obviously, on the roof. If you've got sort of just a lean-to, it might be only a bit less. But once we start talking about 60 to 70 mile hour wind gusts, it's one thing if it's on the coast, but even inland, if you start getting those are damaging wind gusts. And to coincide with, say, a morning rush hour or even in the afternoon, it's certainly not good for people, sort of, you know, motorists, and also spray and all sorts of muck and mess on the road as well.
Just tell us where this storm came from, and could there be another one behind?
This storm has had quite a history. If we could take a look at some graphics, this is, you won't believe it. Look at this. This storm brought tornadoes, snow to much of North America, and then the low just sort of developed, another piece of energy came off, and notice how it just turns into that blue, and that's where it is, and that's our storm, that's our troublemaker. So it literally started across the eastern parts of the US, and that's the low as it will just sort of deepen in, and we'll get those very strong winds ahead of the first weather front, and then the sting in the tail will be on the back side of that low, on the bottom side, later in the afternoon. That'll be over southwest parts of Britain. We'll have to watch for a second surge of very strong winds, so it's going to be a mucky day, however we slice it.
We talk about people having to be braced for flooding, but it must be ghastly for shipping. They must be scurrying for port.
They probably do, and you know, as in any sort of shipping or aviation, they would sort of know about these things. You know, there'd be advance warning, so they would hopefully would plan in advance to stay well away, because you know, we're looking at some of the sea forecasts, some of the swells and the waves. You know, 12, 15, 40, meters in the sense of the waves. So it's just tremendous and horrible for shipping there.
Dan, thank you very much. Daniel Corbett.